Hi everyone, Trisha Ladouceur here from Artsy Adventure with Trisha Ladouceur. Today I am going to start something new with the Artsy Adventure Class Kit Club, and I'm going to try to see how it goes recording a few videos to walk you through a lot of the techniques for the various projects I've designed for our Kit Club members. So the first one we are going to create today, this is from the October kit, and this is one of the tags that is all the components are included in the kit. All the die cutting has been done for you, so all we have to do really is go ahead and assemble it along with a little bit of inking, etc. So for this particular tag you are going to need some archival ink. I use the jet black. You could also use StazOn, anything along those lines. It's for stamping. You'll need an acrylic block because in your class kit, you also got a set of the Marion Smith Designs clear stamps, and we're actually going to be using the pointer finger today. So you'll need the ink, the clear block, the pointer stamp. You're going to need a sanding tool of some sort. I've used 3 different color of ink pads on my tag. I've got pumice stone, antique linen, and walnut stain. However, you can really use whatever shade or shades of brown that you wish. We are going to need some adhesive and even some of the little red line tape. This is the 1/8 inch red line tape from Thermoweb, so we're going to go ahead and use that, and our scissors. The last thing you're going to need, this is where you have your choice. You can use distress paint. I have the brushed pewter here, that's the silver color. Or what we will use today is actually the distress stain in the brushed pewter, and it's just for dry time because it will dry a little bit faster for us. I've also got some fired brick distress stain, and you can either use the distress stain or even just a distress ink pad. And that's simply to color the little red heart in the center of our cog there. So in your kit, you are going to find a brown paper bag. That little brown paper bag has several little elements. There's a little baggie with a film strip, a couple of stamp tickets, and a black or brown, whichever color paper clip is included in your kit. So you can just set that aside for a moment. You're going to get a die cut film strip, a die cut picture wheel, die cut chipboard cogs, and a couple of strips of craft paper that have been cut to size, as well as the stamped tag. So let's go ahead and move this aside and get started. For a moment. The first thing we are going to start with, actually, just so they can work or dry while we work, is the chipboard cogs. The one we are going to take out is the one that has 4 little hearts on it. It's the larger one. So you're just going to punch that out, and you can take out all those little pieces. Sometimes you have to work them out a little bit. Don't worry if they didn't die cut all the way through. Just poke them through the back, and you can clean up that edge simply by peeling off the back layer. Nobody's going to know. All right, and even if you take your paper piercer or some sort of sharp tool, that will help you get the smaller pieces that your fingers can't quite push out. So there we go. I've punched out all the innards. I'm going to shake up my distress stain really, really well. And I'm just simply going to cover the surface of that die cut cog. This is one of the new Prima dies that, that they created along with Sizzix. There we go. So I've just covered the chipboard cog with the brushed pewter distress stain. Now inside inside one of your hearts there, or one of your cogs, you can take one of the hearts and just color it with the red either distress ink or distress stain. I'm using stain because it's just that much faster and easier. We can set aside the cogs and all the little bits for the time being. We're done with that. Those can set to dry while we're working on some of the other bits. The next thing we'll do is we're going to open our Marion Smith clear stamps that were included in your kit, and we want to take out the little pointer finger. We're going to put it on our acrylic block, and you have a little piece of craft colored cardstock. You're simply going to stamp the pointer finger onto that cardstock. Get nice even coverage. Press down. Ta-da! Beautiful stamp, beautiful. So we can just set that aside for a moment. The next thing we are going to do is let's actually start on our tag. So as mentioned, I use these 3 shades of brown: antique linen, pumice stone, and walnut stain. You're also going to want a foam blending tool, or 2 or 3 of them, depends how particular you are about your ink colors. I'm not super particular. And for this particular tag, I actually just went direct from the ink pad onto my tag. I did not cover it entirely, and then I just quickly work with my blending tool just to soften it a wee bit. We want it to look old and not quite so pretty. So it doesn't matter if it's slightly discolored here or there or got the odd streak. It's really not going to make a difference. And that's going to give us a lot of our highs and lows. And then I often like to take my walnut stain distress ink, because it's darker, and work around the edges only with this one. Naturally, paper, when it ages, it tends to darken up around the edges a wee bit. So anyways, that's our quick and simple ink application onto the manila tag. We can set that aside for a moment. We'll cover these babies up so they don't dry out. The next step, now I always like to recommend make sure you have a cutting mat or something down to protect your surface, because we are now going to sand our Coordinations cardstock die cut pieces. So we're going to take the little picture wheel, as well as, where did it go? It'll show. Oh, there it is. I knew it was around. So anyways, we are just simply going to poke out those innards, and you don't even have to do it right now because the sanding may end up taking a lot out of it. And you're just gently going to rub your sanding tool over the surface of each die cut. Don't worry that the one long film strip was folded in your bag. That's not going to hurt anything because you don't have to glue it on that side. And by gently working with your sanding tool, you're just removing that top layer off of the Coordinations cardstock. And this is the Tim Holtz Distress line, so you're going to end up with the craft colored core, as you can see there. Now, if you really wanted, you could go ahead and take your foam blending tool and just add a little bit of distress ink to those die cuts too, just to give it even a little bit more age, if you so choose. I wouldn't worry about being super particular about it. Now, the little stamp that we went ahead and stamped earlier, you can take your scissors and you want to carefully cut that out. Cut out the finger and the little cuff on his sleeve there. Okay, just about done. Whoops, it's a pointy pointer. We don't want that. All right, so I've gone ahead, I've cut out the little pointer finger, and now it's time to assemble. See, that one was pretty easy, wasn't it? So what we are going to start with is actually our long piece of film strip, and you have a 5/8 inch wide piece of craft colored cardstock. Now, if you were really particular, you could sit there with a paper piercer and poke out all the little tiny little holes along the edges of this. I say really it's not worth it today. Now, the reason we want to use a really thin adhesive is because you're actually going to put it horizontally across the little bars on the film strip there. You just want tiny little pieces, and you don't even have to do every little bar if you don't want to. I'm going to do every second bar just to make it a little bit faster today. And we're not going the whole way up the die cut because we're not using the full thing. So there we go, just have a few pieces. Now you can use your scissors or fingernail or paper piercer, whatever you like to use. I'm using the tip of my palette knife. That often works. And that's just to remove the little pieces of red film on the red line tape. Now, we've got the tape on there, so now we're very carefully going to position this 5/8 wide inch strip of cardstock so that it covers up all the little windows. And it's just as wide as those windows, so you just want to be careful of the placement. Ta-da! I'm just going to cut off the excess, save that for a rainy day because I don't need it at the moment. Now what I'm going to do, you will notice that your tag was stamped so that there's a little bit more of an open space along that right edge. That's because your film strip is going to go up against that right edge. So what you can do is just simply use a thin adhesive. Whoops, let's see if it wants to stick here, and go right up that right edge. I think I need a new tape. There we go. And we'll put the film strip down. And again, you can trim the excess. You want to cut it straight across, like so. You'll notice that it's butted up with the top there. You know what? I'm going to use, I don't think my adhesive is sticking on here. I think it's because it's still a bit wet. Try that again. There, that's better. Now it's on. Okay, so we've got that down. Now we are going to take our picture wheel and we're going to pop it up in that lower right corner. Make sure those little pieces are popped out of there if they didn't come out when you were sanding. One more. And you will use your foam squares just to add a little more dimension. Now you want to, of course, be careful about your placement of those foam squares because part of this picture wheel is going to hang off the edge. So just be mindful of where you're putting them so that it's not sticky onto the table because the foam square is not touching the tag. Make sense? There we go, something like that. And just to double check, you'll notice on the back side there's no adhesive sticking through. Now our little cog should pretty much be dry because we used the Distress stain. Had we have used the paint, it might have taken a few more minutes to dry, but we're pretty good to go now. So I'm going to use my liquid glue. I like to use fabric tack. That's my go-to glue, as anybody who's ever taken a class with me knows how much I love this. Haven't scrapbooked in a few days though, and I'm really bad about leaving my glue open on my desk. So I'll just use my paper piercer just to open up that bottle again. So it tends to dry a wee bit. And we're going to put just a wee bit of glue on the back side. And then that chipboard cog can be glued directly to the center of your picture wheel. It fits in there perfectly. Then, of course, you can't forget about your little red chipboard heart. And that little chipboard heart will cover up that center hole perfectly. Something like that. Let me move this so you can see. Now, next step, we will take our little pointer finger, and if you want, you can just rub your blending tool around the edges. That's going to just bring it up to par with the rest of it. And I just use a couple of foam squares on the cuff and the wrist area. And the reason for that is his finger, or fingers, is going to slightly overlap the picture wheel, so you don't want too much adhesive there because it won't line up. There we go. And you can set it wherever you want on there. Actually, because of that, I might hang it down a wee bit just so his finger's not cut off by the cog. Now, the next step is in your little clear plastic baggie that came in there, you will find a little piece of real film strip. This was a old film that I had bought from a recycle store in Brisbane, Australia, and they had some really great, whoops, I guess it would help if I put the foam squares on the tag. Anyways, I bought the film strip at a really cool recycle store down in Australia, so it's a great place to look for things that can be reused on our projects. Now, to make my little loops at the top of the tag, instead of using ribbon, I just kind of looped it like so, get them about the right size, pinch it, make a couple of bunny ears, and then I took my stapler, my handy dandy stapler. I hope I remember to put staples in it. Oh, we might be lucky. There we go. Just add a couple of staples to the top. That'll just hold that film strip in place. Of course, you'll have excess at the back, so you can go ahead and trim that off and save it for a rainy day, or just leave it as is. You do have 2 tickets that I went ahead and pre-stamped for you in the kit. So I'm just going to sand around the edges and add a little bit of ink just to distress it up a wee bit. And then very simply, just overlap them a wee bit. God, I sound like my grandmother saying that all the time. Not that that's a bad thing, I love it, but kind of get teased about that every now and then. Anyway, so there we go. I just used that lovely little clothes peg or little clothespin to clip on the tickets up at the top. And you've got this adorable little movie tag. How cute would this be to tuck in a little gift card in here for maybe someone's birthday or Christmas gift or something? Give them a little gift card to go to the movies. I think that would be absolutely precious, don't you? Anyways, thanks for tuning in on this lovely, well, it's Monday here where I am right now. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me while I create this tag. And hopefully you'll join me for some of the other videos on my artsy adventure. Have a great day. Bye now.